and we're recording, and now we're on. So what is this background you got going on right now? That's New York
Man,
City.
this has worked out. This thing has worked out great. I make it look like out the window is the, well, that's the Flatiron Building in New York. That's the funniest thing. We're in Los Angeles, but my girlfriend Kara has this very fun, useful backdrop that I've been doing, in COVID here for 5.5 months.
Right.
Tons of Zooms and podcasts, and it just works out great.
So wait, is that an actual backdrop thing, or is that a green screen? What is?
No, it's just like a fun print from IKEA. She ate some meatballs and got this.
That's awesome. That's cool. No, that looks great. It's a great backdrop. So all right, so you are in LA right now then?
Yeah, I've been here since March.
Okay.
13th, because we had 2 shows left to do on the Jason Aldean, the early part of the year, whatever you call that. What is that? Spring. Just kind of, really utilizing my time in a fun way out here. And if things get kind of depressing or you get stuck in your head, you have the California sun to lift you up.
I know, right? Today was like extraordinarily hot. I left here for just like 15 minutes to go get lunch earlier. And it was just like, a sauna in the car and everything like that. All right, so I didn't realize you were here. I wasn't sure if you were here in LA or if you were back in Nashville or what.
It's so mysterious, and I like that.
Right. No, well, it is kind of nice. It can't quite track you down on where you're at. But so you've been here for the nice weather and stuff like that, which has been cool. How have you been managing with everything like getting canceled? You said you had a couple shows left on the tour, but like any other plans beyond that have been canceled at this point for everybody across the board. So what have you been doing to keep yourself active and stuff like that? I mean, all right. First of all, we didn't even do like a show intro or anything like that. You
got to do your show intro, man.
Yeah. So it's super informal. So we don't even need any of that stuff. Just in case people aren't aware, I'm sitting here talking to my buddy, Rich Redmond, who is the drummer for Jason Aldean, and he's a Nashville and LA session guy, and he's a motivational speaker, and he's a drum educator, and all this stuff. All right, so now that we got the intro done, so because you have so many feathers in your cap, we'll say, and you've always been like one of the most active dudes I've ever met in the industry.
Oh man.
So between with the state of the world this year and everyone's tours and stuff like that getting canceled, clubs getting shut down. You mentioned before we started taping, the last time we saw each other was downstairs at the Viper Room hanging out,
Yeah.
Viper Room's been closed since March. That was supposed to be my last gig. Actually, the day the shutdown happened, I was supposed to play at the Viper Room that night, and I got the call that afternoon saying we're closing tonight. We're not doing it.
Yeah, it's so weird to see the sign on the marquee, stay safe, be good to each other, on the Viper Room marquee, because there's nothing safe about rock and roll, is there?
Everyone shouldn't be safe. Right. Anyway, with all the different things that you do, and now with so much restrictions, regulations, rules, cancellations, stuff like that, how have you been managing during all this? What have you been doing to keep active in what you've been up to, man?
Well, man, first of all, thanks for having me. This is great. I'm so fortunate in that I play with this band of brothers that have been together, finishing each other's sentences since like 1999. It's pretty incredible. So all these presidencies have come and gone, and wives and girlfriends, and we're just out there, like I said, finishing each other's sentences and playing music. And it has been such an amazing ride. And this is something that hasn't come along in human history since the early 1900s, right? And so we're having to jib and jab. And I know that we're going to get out there and we're going to share our brand of country rock music with people. People, we're social creatures. We like to gather at the watering hole. We like to be entertained. That's our responsibility. So obviously we can't wait to get rid of that, to get back to that. And that would probably be, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. I think that it would be sometime next year. Maybe this time next year is what, maybe the folks at the Live Nations and the other concert promotion organizations are thinking as a goal point. So being out here in sunny Los Angeles, I'm just trying to smell the roses, enjoy the sunsets. I go for like a little anywhere between 3 and 6 mile run or walk every day, as long as I'm moving, as long as the blood is getting circulated, I'm getting my vitamin D, trying to just move my my speaking and my acting skill set forward because I enjoy those things. I do those things in the cracks around our Jason Aldean schedule. And then other things have come up, like I've been to Nashville 3 or 4 times during this last 5.5 months where I'm flying, and, you know, it is a little bit risky. The flights are getting a little bit more crowded, but for the most part, I'm on a Southwest flight with the gloves and the sanitizer and the 2 masks and the shield and my iPad. And I have usually the whole row to myself, you know, or for at least no middle seat, which is great. And you just pray to God that everything's going to work out. You get off, you get into the Uber, you text the Uber and you say, please wear a mask. And then I have my Lysol with me and I say, do you mind if I spray the Lysol? So I spray the Lysol in the Uber. And then I say, can you lower the windows? They lower the windows so there's air circulating. And then I get to my crib. And then, of course, Drum Paradise in Nashville has got my drums set up. I go in there, I get some drum sounds, I pour some coffee. It's the strangest thing to be wearing a mask and to have the anxiety that you have, even when you're around people that you've been doing recording sessions with for 20 years. It's crazy. This thing is bringing out a lot of like strange mental patterns, and even I would say mental illnesses. People are having a hard time with this. So lucky for us, you know, being drummers, we get to hit things. We get to get our aggressions out. And this is also, you know, when I give advice to people, I say, use this as a time for the ultimate self-development. You can develop personally and professionally in this time. You can watch all those Netflix movies. You can read those personal development books. You can journal. You can get your number of sit-ups and push-ups, you know, together. There's a lot of great things that we can do at this time to be productive and kind of keep things moving forward, you know.
Yeah, no, that's great. All right, so you have been flying then back and forth. I wasn't sure if Tennessee would have flight restrictions coming in and out of California, where it's like you're going to be stuck there in quarantine for 2 weeks before you can go back. Did they do that to you, or were you?
Well, right now, California and Tennessee, so far, those states don't have restrictions. But I'm just like, I am so strict about how I handle myself with all the sanitization and the distance and the masks and everything. I'm doing my part, you know, I'm doing my part. And the thing is that, you know, I was listening to the Mark Maron podcast, and it was like Ice-T was on there. And this is like a tough dude, man. And he's like, his whole brand is about being a tough dude. And he's like, hey, man, I'm an older guy. I sent my wife to the store for grocery shopping because she's younger. And he's like, man, I have friends that are my age. They're in their late 40s. They're in their mid 50s. And some guys just breeze through it in a couple of days. And some guys are like, man, it felt like I had 2 elephants sitting on my chest and I was barking razor blades. I don't want that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? So.
Absolutely not. That's crazy. So, all right. So there's not restrictions going to Tennessee and stuff like that. I was supposed to go to New York in early July, had to be canceled because they put restrictions. I was just going for like 5 days, and I would have had been there for 2 weeks and stuff like that. So that's good to know. But it sounds like you've been doing well, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of the same stuff that I've been doing, which is.
Well, like, you look great, man. You always look great. You're so healthy, and you got 3 waters there. I mean, how many of those waters you drink in a day, man? Like, come on.
I don't know if that's a shot. I do that because I have the AC off while I'm doing this, so there's no background noise, and it tends to get, you know, being in California, it tends to get warm in this room, so I'm trying to hydrate myself. And
I got the LaCroix.
There you go. I got a case of this stuff in the back corner because I'm drinking water all day. Well, yeah, I've been doing like you do. I get out and go for a walk. I went 7 miles this morning, and I do
7 miles. Great.
I do between, well, so here's the thing. Where I'm at right now, I'm at my studio. I only live like a mile away from here.
That's smart.
I walk.
Yeah.
With the weather, I just walk back and forth. I've been doing it for however many months we've been at this. I've just been walking every day. That's guaranteed 2 miles right there back and forth. And then so a couple days a week, I get up early and I just walk around the neighborhood, or I go and I've even driven to nicer neighborhoods and walked around nicer neighborhoods.
That's what I do, man. I walk all around West Hollywood and Beverly Hills, and you just kind of like look at the beautiful architecture. And that's what I really can appreciate about California. There's no track, at least like in Los Angeles. Of course, if you get out to Rancho Cucamonga and you go further out, there's like track developments with houses that are like ticky-tacky. They are all the same. But like here, there's like, you got Spanish architecture next to like completely modern, next to something that was built in the 20s and like some gangster lived in, Italian gangster. And it's just like all beautiful and all unique. And so it's so fun. It never gets old.
You got to walk around. If you're close to the West Hollywood area, you got to walk around Hancock Park.
Yeah.
I walk around there a couple times a week, and just the mansions are massive there, but it's really, really nice and quiet. Last week I did 14 and a half miles.
Wow.
Just through like that area, went all the way up to like the La Brea tar pits and back and stuff like that.
Nice. I love those. I remember the first time I saw those, I was like, this is a bubbling prehistoric tar pit in the middle of one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the world.
Right. Just
incredible.
Right.
It's incredible.
I love it. It's cool though. So walking around there, going through the park area there and stuff like that, and just getting that exercise and the sunshine and everything like that, it's been good. Have you been teaching much, doing online lessons and stuff?
Yeah, I do a lot of online lessons. I want to start doing webinars, and like I think that my webinars are going to be, usually when people, I know that you teach a lot through the School of Rock and privately. And so a lot of times you're seeing the same students every week, which is great. It's one type of teaching where you can nurture an individual, if you're lucky, for a decade and get them you get their sticks in the hands and you get them reading. And then before you know it, they're like, I'm going to go to UCLA and graduate in study percussion. And you've been holding their hand the whole time. I'm not that fortunate because I don't have that kind of time, but I'm usually like, someone comes to me and it's like the power hour. And I say, write down all your questions and all your concerns and we'll address everything. So I think my webinars are going to be more about like the mental aspects of surviving the music business, how to get a gig, how to keep a gig, what you would expect in the studio, how to do a chart, like all this kind of detail stuff that like a lot of people like, because there's a lot of people teaching paradiddles, you know what I mean? It's like, so I want to like kind of share some of that stuff that has made a difference in my life, which has definitely been like the reading and the personal skills and trying to create some sort of a personal brand so people can find you easily in the world,
That's cool. No, that's a good idea. I think that's something that you're right. There's a million guys out there teaching you how to do a paradiddle. That having that more specialized thing, there is a necessity for it. What they started doing with School of Rock actually is, we switched all our lessons online, and I had already been doing some online lessons with out-of-state students anyway. So it wasn't a big switch for me. It was like, oh, now I just do all of them here. But they started, their whole platform was live performance. It was, we take your students and we put them on stage and give them the real rock and roll experience of being on stage, which is amazing. The one thing that was always neglectful was recording. Recording is the other hand of it. There's live, but there's studio too. And the studio thing was never really pushed. And now, because of everything having to be remote and be online, we've kind of had to make that transition and switch to be like, okay, now it's not a live performance-based program. Now it's a recording-based program. And I've done a couple of master classes for them.
Nice. Where
instead of doing a one-on-one thing, it's a whole group. And my screen looks like the Brady Bunch. And I am going through, I did one last month that was the finer points of like setting up your home recording setup, pulling up a DAW and assigning the channels and stuff like that, playing to the click. And then I even took them through like editing things. And it's like, I rushed a drum fill and I was like, look here, we're going to fix it. And we're going to bump this note back, and we're going to put you right in the pocket there. And then we're going to EQ it and make your snare drum sound like it's in an arena, and showed them all kinds of stuff like that, because now they can go and work with GarageBand at home and do that. And
totally. I love School of Rock. I love the fact that it's a learn by doing structure. Yeah. And I mean, like even the Nashville and Franklin School of Rock are the sponsors of my podcast, the Rich Redmond Show, it's like they're our sponsors. So, and it is a great, great thing. And it's been around for some time. And I think it's just a really cool thing.
Yeah. It's super cool. But like your specialized thing, there's definitely a need for that, because those are the real questions. Are like, okay, I've learned how to do all this stuff, but if I want to actually put it into practical use outside of the umbrella of, my education platform, being it in college or your high school marching band even, or something like School of Rock or whatever, going out and actually doing it is still a bit different. You've had the training, but now the execution is needed. And something like what you're showing people is that execution, and that's pretty cool. It reminds me of a conversation I had recently, because, all right, so you already kind of touched on it. So, but it was something I had wanted to ask you anyway. You said that, with your schedule, you don't have a lot of regular students. So it's not like you're seeing the same people week after week after week after week. It's more, what you do is more like here and there kind of thing.
Yeah, here and there. Like people can find me, like people can, like I'll use the socials to let people know, hey, I have some availability coming up. These are the slots. They'll go, jump in. And then I also, can be found through platforms like Meet Hook, which is MEET Hook. And like, me and Lib and like Kenny, we're like using that platform, which is a cool thing, because if you're an educator, you're on there, and all the scheduling and monetization and payments is all set up through that. And then a certain percentage of the fee is donated to a charity of your choice. And then I also teach on this site called Lesson Squad. Check it out. I'll get you connected with my buddy, Jimmy Pemberton, but it's a great thing. Not only where you can teach on this platform, but you can also have your own store. So you can have a store where it's Nick Recommends, and it's all the gear that you use and all your books and sticks and mallets. And you actually profit share a piece of every purchase.
Wow.
So, which is a really forward-thinking, cool thing.
Definitely heard of Lesson Squad. I don't recall. I'm hooked up with a couple of like online lesson houses and stuff, and I don't recall if I've looked into Lesson Squad or not, but I'm definitely familiar with it. The Meet Hook thing I just found out about like a week ago or something like that. I was having dinner with my buddy Alex and Glenn Sobel.
Nice.
And that's what brought upon the question I wanted to pose to you about, having regular students versus drop-ins kind of thing. It's because I've known Glenn has been an educator for years and years and years too. But he mentioned just while we were having dinner that he's like, I don't have regular students that I see every week. I got, I'm getting one here, one there, and I'll have some people that hit me up every couple of months, but it's not the same people every single week. And I didn't realize that. As an educator, I was like, wait, you don't have a schedule like I do where you've been seeing the same person for 8 years every Thursday night? Like I that never dawned on me. So then knowing that I was going to be talking to you, I was like, I got to ask Rich about this, because he's big in the education world. I got to know what he's up to with that.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, like I was always a hustler, man. The hustling goes way back to where my parents taught me, they didn't teach me about love. I learned about love from seeing them love each other, and I saw their work ethic. And so as a young man, I raked leaves, I had a paper route, I shoveled snow, and I was a Boy Scout. Like I was just that guy. And so in the summers of getting my degree from Texas Tech University and the University of North Texas, in the summers, I'd go back to El Paso, Texas, and I would teach at all the music stores, and I would have a full load. And then in college, for extra spending cash, I would be like, every Wednesday night, 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I like that. And I have enough of a curriculum that I can work with someone, their entire life. But I love the ability to just impact somebody with the power hour and just load them up with information that's truly the information that they're seeking, that can only come from somebody that has been in the trenches, smelling diesel fuel, riding the tour bus, eating the sweaty cheese backstage, taking their lumps, going to basement auditions that remind you of like Silence of the Lambs, and loading your drums in through the loading dock at a hotel, and you got to go play some reception on the 60th floor, and all the schlepping and wearing the tuxedo. Like, once you experience those things, you have that vast story to tell and information to share, and I love that. And also I price my lessons at a point where it's like it's maybe 4 or 5 lessons from another teacher, so the person's got to be really into it. You know what I mean? They've got to be really invested in it.
That's cool. That's really cool, because it does kind of then weed out the casual player versus the more serious person.
Yeah. Because then you're babysitting, and you know what I mean? And it's sometimes, and it's great. Whether if the student isn't serious, you still have the sticks in your hand. You're still working on your communication skills. You're reinforcing your skill set, and it's just time in the trenches. At least you have the sticks in your hand. But I do prefer somebody that's really hungry, that wants to be there.
Yeah. Though those students always are really satisfying and really gratifying. Not that the other ones aren't.
Sure.
In general is gratifying, but those ones I've always found to be more gratifying when they're going to go on to something. That's pretty cool. I've got some former students that I had for years and years and years, and like they're out playing in bands now and stuff like that. And
you're like, yeah, man, you did it.
It's pretty cool to see that sort of thing where they really buckle down and take it serious and stuff like that. It's always, you get that proud papa smile on.
Yeah, man. Tough.
That's pretty cool, man. That's really great. With the public speaking thing that you normally do, right? Where you're on stage with a microphone talking and stuff like that. Is that something also that you're pushed online, or are you just kind of sitting back with it for now?
No, there's most of the speakers that do it like full-time or, semi full-time. We're all kind of like pivoting and trying to figure out how it's going to affect our price points. Does it end up being a cheaper event? I mean, are you getting half pay because you're not there in person? And I know that a lot of people here's the deal. You got to put a price point on your time and your talent, and you have to kind of own it. But I've been doing a lot of like team building events and speaking to like business networking groups on Zoom. And then I do some hosting, and like I was going to host this giant event for Oracle and NetSuite, they're big tech companies. And I was going to do like the Ryan Seacrest thing for their big event at the Venetian Ballroom in Vegas. And then boom, everything hit. And they're like, hey, we're going to do a virtual event, so we still want you to host. So all you really have to do is do some talking heads for us. So I have a couple of nice box lights. I have a lav mic. I have a nice backdrop. I have a teleprompter on my iPad, and I could do reads almost like a TV host for these corporate events. And then another thing I'll do is I'll offer like customized corporate drum solos. So like I did one for Oracle where it was like, Oracle.
Oh my God.
It's just kind of like taking your skill set and seeing like what other kind of verticals you can kind of put it into. But this is all kind of like the Wild West. And me, Mark Schulman, Kenny Aronoff, Dom Famularo, all the guys that have that speaking side of their motivational or musical diet. We're all trying to figure out how to move into that circle. And it's also, you have to have a place, and you have to have some, an investment in some equipment. But this is the deal. You invest in yourself. You invest in yourself, you will make that money back,
Absolutely. That's one of the mindsets that I've tried to keep during this whole thing is like, well, all right, so you're looking at this new toy, right? There's a snare drum you're eyeballing or something like that. The way I convince myself it's okay to buy is like, well, I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my career, and I'm going to make it pay itself off.
Sure.
And that's exactly what I do. When I didn't have a recording studio set up at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
This room was just for me to hammer out songs that I was going to go play on stage with somebody. Right. And I flipped it into a recording studio and full lesson house and stuff like that with multiple cameras and everything else. And when I bought all the equipment, I was like dumping tons of money at the beginning of this when everything was really unsure and no one knows if they're going to be making any money at all. We're all going to go broke and living in the street. And I just started blowing money left and right on recording equipment and made it pay itself back in like a month. And it was
totally,
you know, and now everything's good. And now this is the gig. Now I'm a session guy now.
Now you're a session guy. Now here's the deal. You have the complete ability to have mic'd up drums. You got your modern stuff. You got your vintage stuff. You could tell the client, hey, for an extra $100 a song, I'll give you a multi-angle performance of your song that you can use to promote on social media. So it's just thinking outside of the box and thinking about the new, where we're going with this thing. And of course, I've seen you play live. You're a sweaty rock and roll drummer. You want to take the music to the people. Same with me. But in the meantime, you could still be in your craft and you're just pivoting a little. You're learning a new skill set. So my studio in Nashville, Crash, I've got modern drums, vintage drums, a wall of snare drums, tons of cymbals, percussion instruments that I've collected from around the world. Got the cameras in there. Now I have to get one of those things happening in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So when I'm here, and in the meantime, if we didn't have COVID, I have like 2 or 3 places that I go where I'll sublet tracks, where I'll pay the house engineer at such and such a studio $50 an hour. And so I'll build that $50 an hour into my tracking fee. So it's just trying to be savvy with that whole thing and move forward, but it always pays itself off. And if there's any advice I can give to young drummers or people that are like, hey, I want to get into recording and sessions, man, all you need is a Ludwig Acrolite. You know what I mean? And if you want to get fancy schmancy and have a time saver, get 3 Ludwig Acrolites. Get one that's cranked up like the Spin Doctors. Get one that's like kind of like middle of the road Bonham, and get one that's all prepared. It's got a double ply head on it. Sounds like Fleetwood Mac or Stan Lynch, early Damn the Torpedoes. And then boom, you're ready to go. And they're $75 a pop at a pawn shop. So if you think you have to have the Craviatos and the new custom bell brass, those are all cool things that if you end up doing a recording session at Henson, and then like Kenny Aronoff said he was doing this record for Crocus and they had to have the Danny Carey snare drum. And he was like, I don't have it. And they're like, no, we gotta have it. So he called up the drum doctor and got the drum and did the recording session. But for the most part, if the drum sounds good and it's versatile, you're in business.
No, you're absolutely right. I give the similar advice to my students when they're always looking to get, they're upgrading from their first cheap beginner kit, and the first thing they want to upgrade is the snare. They're always like, well, I want to get a new snare. What should I get? And I'm telling them, get something that can do everything.
Right.
Get one drum that you can crank it up if you need it, or you can detune it if you need it. I usually recommend going with like the like a Black Beauty.
It's $500 off the shelf, right? And it's amazing if you keep the bottom head tight, right? And that maintains the integrity and the pitch and then the feel and the organicness and that is just the twisting the top and then manipulating the top quickly. You can use Ritchie rings and big fat snare and tissue and typing paper and those drum tacos, and you just have those things, and drum tacks and moon gels, and all those things will make the drum sound different.
Yeah. No, it's I always found that to be like the most versatile, can do all snare. I've got a couple of them, and that's my go-to. And you can even get if you want the Ludwig one, they're like $500, but every company makes one, and every you can find less expensive alternatives. The first one I ever got was a copy, generic shell from Taiwan. It was like $150, and it's the same thing. The company even told me, they're like, oh, we actually ship these out, get them engraved, and they become the Kenny Aronoff signature for Tama.
There you go.
This shell that you just sold me. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like,
okay, let me know what that drum is. I want to pick up one of those.
I'm selling mine right now. I've had it for like 13 or 14
You're selling
years.
it?
I don't need 3 of them. That's the
Here's
thing.
the deal. I don't need any more drums. It gets to the point, you know, like
the wall behind you in your studio photos. You have.
I mean, Sutter and I were talking the other day, and he's like, I'm thinning the herd. I mean, it's like, do we need this many?
Yeah, that's why I'm letting one of mine go. Is because, well, Yamaha made me an exact duplicate of it, and it's same size, everything. It's brass shell with the black, finish on it, and I'm like, well, I don't need two. I can't play them at the same time.
So that's a Yamaha double bass kit over there.
Behind me? Oh yeah.
It looks like Prairie Prince painted it or something.
It's you. I painted it with Yamaha actually.
Oh wow.
We got together in February and did this, and it was kind of just an experiment of like, hey, what if we did so and so? So double bass kit covered in blood. And the cool thing is, so all that it's hard to see in the right now, but it's bloody handprints and blood splatter and streaks and stuff all over the shell. I went over to their custom shop, their artist facility they have, and we just went to town. And the color red that we picked on it too was color matched to the Paiste color sound symbols, which I don't know if you can see them in here, but they're red.
Oh, whoa, the reds.
Yeah.
I had a red China Boy, a red color sound China Boy in 1986, and I thought I was so cool.
Dude, they reissued them. And so I got a whole set of the red symbols, and I gave one to Yamaha. I said, this is the color of the blood that I want. And they went through color swatches and everything. They matched it. And so the symbols matched the blood on the kit, which is cool because my other kit's all black. It was like you had the blackout kit too, where it was like black heads and black shells.
Mm.
My other kit is that too, but also with black symbols.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool. So now remind me, because like I'm a big horror fan. Okay. But you're like really into it, right?
I dabble. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm really into it. Of course.
So where did the idea come from that you were like, I'm going to brand myself as the Living Dead drummer? When did that happen?
That actually came from a gig that I was doing a couple years ago
with I think I saw you guys with masks and
makeup on and stuff like that and fangs. And it was Coffin Case's 20th anniversary, the Coffin Guitar Case Company.
Yep.
It's their 20th anniversary party, and they always did this big fashion show every year with all the alternative models and stuff like that. And Johnny, who owns the company, called me up, and he's like, it's our 20th anniversary. We're going to do a big thing at NAMM this year. I want you to be involved. And I said, great. I'm a drummer. What do you want me to do? He's like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. So the idea that we came up with was they were having the big thing at the Grove. And John Five from Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, he was headlining, and a bunch of like super heavy bands playing stuff like that. And they, right before John took the stage, they had the Coffin Case fashion show that they always do. And me and my buddy flanked the runway with stand-up matching drum kits.
Nice.
And we were all done up in the corpse paint and stuff like that, and full costume, and I had contacts and fangs in and everything like that. Ooh. And we basically just played to metal tracks. We were playing Pantera and stuff like that.
Wow.
Stand-up percussion, and the girls were doing runway between our two kits.
Nice.
And it was at that show backstage that the name Living Dead Drummer got tossed around a little bit, and I was just like, light bulb!
Ding.
It makes sense. I'm a horror fan. I'm a drummer. Let's just marry the two. And it also avoids confusion with me being 70-something years old playing for Pink Floyd. There's no confusion about that anymore.
I love that. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I got fan mail for that dude. I used to get happy birthday wishes from people I didn't know on his birthday. I'm like, what? Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was weird though.
Yeah. Cool and weird.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man.
When it comes to, so all right, I got loads of stuff up my sleeve that I've been wanting to talk to you about for a while, actually. I just haven't had the opportunity. When it comes to doing like session work, because you got a spot set up, you got your studio in Nashville and stuff like that, and here in LA, you said you got a couple places you can go and kind of sublet. I used to do the same thing until I flip to this room. Now I just do it here. But
I mean, and I'm ready to find maybe a roommate or get my own place eventually, but it seems like a weird time to like go and be like at a lockout with the doors and COVID and you know what I
it's
mean?
not, no, well, I mean, my place, we have a cleaning crew. They come in 5 days a week and they are mopping the floors and cleaning the bathrooms and stuff like that. I don't interact with anybody here. You might pass somebody in the hallway once in a while. You mentioned Sutter. His place is a block over from mine.
Okay, yeah.
And that place is nicer, but it's more expensive also.
Yeah.
I got
Well, I
another.
think he's got 3 guys in one room.
Well, he's got a huge room. That's why. One of my buddies has a room in that same building. It was a small room, only big enough for like one kid. But I went over to his place and hooked his mics up and got him set up to do remote recording and stuff like that too.
Now, can you hear other people or no? Because when you're tracking.
Not really. Like the drums are so loud that usually it drowns anything out. I did notice on one, like what I did is just before the drums came in on a take, I cranked the volume and listened through my ears on it to hear if I could hear anything. And you could hear somebody practicing down the hall, but it was so faint that the minute you turn that gain down, it was gone. So all you do is you go in and edit that part out and no one's going to hear it. I haven't had anybody complain so far of like, why am I hearing Van Halen in the background?
It's like, hey, I'm not even playing the drums at that point, dude.
Right, exactly. So I haven't had any problem with bleed. I've also padded this room up pretty good. Like the ceiling's all padded, the walls are all padded and stuff like that. And I do like real close miking on everything too. So I haven't had any issues with it here. People have been pretty happy with the drums, but there's places available right now. So it's not a bad time to look into it. If you are looking for a place in LA, I don't know who's got available space in their rooms, but there's a lot of places around here, and there probably is a lot of vacancies because people are not able to afford the rent right now. I used to share this room with a couple of guys, and where my other kid is here, there was somebody else's kit here all mic'd up. This one's mic'd up. My studio kit's over here mic'd up. You can't see. And then this was another dude who had a kit mic'd up in here too. Nice. And a few months back, he was like, I just, I've been out of work. I can't do it anymore. So he bounced, which is kind of a bummer. And then I set my other kit up. And I was like, well, I'm just going to set up my for fun kit then. So there might be places available and stuff like that. It's nice to have the Nashville hookup, but if you don't want to jump on a plane or you got a quick deadline or someone wants a quick turnaround, having a place here is a good idea. And I do recommend calling around some places.
It's all coming, man. It's all coming.
Cool. With your place in Nashville, I've seen, so you always got great videos that you're putting up on
thanks, man.
And stuff like that too, with the lighting and the multiple cameras. And you mentioned you can tell people, wow, for an extra $100, I'll give you a multi-cam, performance. Is that what those clips that you always put up online are from, or from sessions?
That's actually from a series that I filmed 5 years ago called Drumming in the Modern World. So drumminginthemodernworld.com. And it's a training program I have with 110 or 112 HD videos, 5.5 hours of content, and you pay $99 and you have it for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Yeah.
5.5 hours?
5.5 hours of me doing song deconstructions, playing the Jason Aldean hits, 15 other tracks in multiple genres, and then just stuff like how to play a backline drum set and how a showcase works and how you get paid in Nashville, how you can apply the rudiments to the drum set, brushes, overdubbing percussion, song charting, all that stuff,
Wow, that's pretty rad, man. That's cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if those videos were, because some of the videos I knew were from instructional stuff you've done. But some of them I wasn't sure if it was like, is this just a tracking session that you did with somebody?
Well, it's funny because I look, I have pitch black hair like Superman hair, and now I don't. So people are like, when the hell was this recorded? But everything was, I think it's going to hold up for some time. And the guy that actually encouraged me to do that was my friend Vic Salazar, from member of Vic's Drum Shop
Yeah.
in Chicago. So Vic basically is the backbone of the drumming and music community in Chicago. And I don't know if he's doing it now with COVID, but I mean, this is a guy who is basically, if you need to rent a drum or a cymbal or have somebody do your cartridge in the city of Chicago 365 days a year, he's the guy you call. And so he encouraged me to create this product. He's like, this is the time in your life to do that. You're 44, 45 years old. You have a lot to say. It's going to be around for the rest of your life. He was the guy that actually encouraged me to do that. And he connected me with a director who's a dear friend of mine, Eric Doris, who's a drummer and a filmmaker in Austin, Texas. And he did both of the Todd Sucherman Methods and Mechanics DVDs. So
Familiar with those.
he had a lot of fun creating those,
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. It's a shame a lot of the music stores are starting to close up with this year, just because everyone's been closed. Online business isn't as good.
I know.
I don't know if you've ever been to Buffalo Drum Outlet in Buffalo, New York. That's the 5-star shop there. October is the last month, 40 years.
No, this is really bad, and it's really sad because, over the last maybe 12 years, I cultivated this in-person clinic career where during the day somebody would pick me up from a Guitar Center, a Sam Ash, or a 5-star drum shop, and I would do a master class or lessons or a clinic, and then I would go do my sound check, play my show. And now there's no interest, no motivation, no budgets, or the store doesn't exist. So we're in this craziest and strangest of times. I'm so glad that I got to grow up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even early 2000s, where I got to see a Dave Weckl clinic, a Vinnie Colaiuta clinic, a Dennis Chambers clinic, and you're right there, and you're 4 feet away from a hurricane. And you get to witness that, and you get to ask that person questions. And it's, it was like, I guess like me and Kenny and Sutter and Shulman and Stanton Moore, we were Jim Riley, trying to keep this art form alive. And we're still trying to do that. And hopefully we'll see what happens after this pandemic goes away. But it's not the greatest time in human history for music education and supporting music education. So
yeah, it's been tough. It's online's a hard sell versus in person any day of the week. My teaching practice kind of cut in half. I'm thankful for the students I have. I still have about 25 students a week, but it was almost double that, and it's just, online it's hard. It's not as personal. And there's even times I've been in a lesson where I'm like, oh my God, if I was just there with you, I could show you. I could
fix your fulcrum. I could fix your, yeah.
Right. And instead I'm trying to describe it, and they're not getting exactly what I'm describing, because a visual would help way more, or, you know what I mean?
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Online is definitely tougher than in person any day of the week. But hopefully, like you were saying earlier, the Live Nations and some of these people are putting the goal at next summer, and that's kind of what I heard too. Is like, it's not going to be anytime soon. 2021 at the earliest would be like maybe some summer festivals and stuff, and we'll see. But like large scale touring, I mean, your 9 to 5 was doing 20,000 seaters, with Jake, and like. Yeah. They're talking like that's not going to almost happen until like 2022 at this point. And
God, I hope not. I hope so. I mean, I hope something happens. I mean, I really, do. In the meantime, I'm sure we'll work on another record. And, I've been to Nashville to play on this kid from American Idol, this guy named Lane Hardy. Great guy, played on another record. It's just escaping me right now. And then I'm heading to Nashville this Friday to play on a record for the Rascal Flatts. We're going to go out. My buddy Jim Riley was going to do a 20th anniversary farewell tour. So they canceled that. So in lieu of that, they're going to do a duets record. So the Rascal Flatts are going to sing with like the Tim McGraws and the Garth Brookses of the world. And, Jason's going to do a song with the Flats. And so Can't miss that, man. I'm getting my butt back there to play on that next Friday. So
That's rad. That's very cool. When you do session stuff, I always like talking about this nerdy crap with my friends. When you do session stuff, like like most of us, you have like 90 snare drums. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I went going back to Kenny. I remember I did a session at a studio years ago, and like the week after Kenny was coming in to do a session, and the engineer told me, he's like, the dude brought a truck of snare drums, but he only ever used one, but a truck of snare drums showed up.
Yeah.
And do you have like a go-to studio kit with like specific cymbals and snare that like this is what we're going to start with and see every time, and then from here we might, if it's not working for the track, then we might swap it out? But do you have like a go-to, this is my benchmark studio, this is the Rich Redmond sound? Do you have that with
Well, for most of the stuff that I get called to do, it's the DW maple mahogany, and it's beautiful. It's like a black and red fade sparkle, and it was hand painted by my buddy Louie up there in Oxnard. And it's like a 24 by 16, and then big Bobby Blotzer toms, like 13, 16, and then a Black Beauty or a DW Black Beauty. And then I'm guilty just for the wow factor that still exists a little bit. I have two beautiful, you would love it, almost like a coffin, red velvet lined cases with 6 snare drum slots. So 12 beautiful snare drums. And then I have those protector case trash cans that have you can fit 4 or 5 snare drums in. Yeah, and those are, the trash can is filled with my most commonly used prepared, almost like character actors, the Fleetwood Mac drum, the Spin Doctors drum, the Bonham drum, and those get pulled out and laid on the floor right behind me. And then I've got my mixer, headphones, music stand. The Black Beauty is there. And if you're lucky enough to get to this point where, you're working with a major label or, an indie that's got money, then I called this company Drum Paradise. My friends over there, Harry McCarthy and his great folks, and they got the box truck, and they handle like me and Greg Morrow and Paul Wyme and Eddie Bears and Chad Cromwell and probably like, the top maybe 25 guys that are working all the time in Nashville. And that box truck shows up either the night before, the session's at 10 a.m. They'll show up at 8:15. They get everything in the room. They kind of pre-tune everything a little, get it as close as possible. I get in there at like 8:30, 8:45, cup of coffee. I'm with the engineer. We're getting some sounds. Band shows up at 9:30, 9:45. The charts get passed out. And I've got that good starting point with the cymbals I use, all that for that style, which is most of the time I'm getting called for a country rock hybrid, right? And then if it's like super traditional country, then you can dry up the snare drum and maybe the size of the cymbals gets reduced. And then if it's like super epic, you get the big 20-inch crash cymbals, and then there's less muffling, and you just have all your tools there, and to be in the moment and be able to take direction and people please. Really, we're in the people pleasing business,
Yeah, I mean, we're drummers. We can't really go out and tour by ourselves, really. We need the band in front of us, So you're right, people pleasers. I just realized my ringer was on. Sorry.
No, you just got a text. Hey, man, it's a session. I need 2 tracks done by tomorrow. You're not going home.
It probably was, thankfully. Thankfully, that's been my life. Is I was lucky if I played 2 or 3 records a year, and now that's all I'm doing. I've done 20 already this year, Yeah, I would kind of approach a studio thing like you, where I'd have the snare drums laid out and I got my different character actors and stuff, but I always start with the same ones,
I mean, you just throw, if you throw up you can't go wrong with a Black Beauty or Superphonic. I tell you one thing I haven't had in years and years, and there was a period where you had to have that in the late 90s, early 2000s, was the piccolo. And then and I want to pick one up just to have it.
But I'm not even lying. I've been piccolo shopping. I've been like keeping an eye on my lights going off. Hang on. Hold on.
Hey, that's good. That's good for the Living Dead drummer, man.
I know, except for I can't see anything now. Hang on. I I got a real temperamental ring light, and it sometimes it does that. So now I got to deal with the overhead light, which is terrible. But
Still
it'll.
looks good, man. Still looks good.
Thanks. Um, I've been Piccolo shopping. I've been like keeping an eye on Reverb and eBay and Marketplace on Facebook, and I've been Piccolo shopping. I have one that a producer lent me on a session a year ago, and like I'm in touch with the guy regularly. I just talked to him a week ago, and every time I talk to him, I'm like, hey man, I still got that drum. Like anytime you want me to drop it back off, let me know. And he's like, I don't really have a use for it right now. Check with me again in a couple months. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've had
It's a permanent loan. It's a permanent loan. You know, it's so funny. I have a friend of mine, Ray Garcia. He's one of the top key grips in Los Angeles. So for the last 30 years, he's worked with everybody from like De Niro to Pacino to Jodie Foster. He's done these huge movies. He just did Macbeth with Frances McDormand. And we grew up playing drums. And he's like, hey man, I've got these two gorgeous Sonar rosewood drums, 5.5 and 6.5, and you can use them. So we met up and he gave them to me, and I've been recording them in Nashville, and I tuned them way down and I put a towel on them on the upper edge, and it's just like, and it just records amazing. It doesn't even sound all that great in the room, but under the mic and you hear it, it's like, holy cow.
That's amazing. Rosewood. Yeah. I've never played a rosewood drum. That piccolo that I got is like, it's like super extra thick, like 3mm thick steel. It's a Noble and Cooley, and it's only like 3.5 or 4 inches deep or something like that. And the other one I've been hunting is like the coveted, you know, the iconic 90s rock snare, the bell brass.
Yeah, I mean, now here's the deal with the bell brass. Everybody wants to have the bragging rights to say they got the bell brass, and it does impress producers, and it is incredible. But I think there's other drums out there that are a lot lighter and have the same effect, and they're not going to break the bank, like $5,000.
Right. Some of them are ridiculous. The most affordable one you can get right now is about $650, and they just go up from there.
So what's the brand on the 650?
Ahead.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they do a line of snare drums, and I use their I'm sitting on one of their thrones right now. I got a couple.
Is it the one with the thin slit in the middle?
Yeah.
Nice.
With the fart trench.
Beautiful.
I got 2 of these. I love them.
That's for after when we go to the Cactus on Moore Park, which I'm missing. When this all returns, we're going to Cactus. I miss my Valley taco trucks.
Deal. I'm in. We'll make that happen. Yeah, these thrones are great, and I use a lot of their cases too. Their soft cases and stuff like that are
they're beautiful.
But they make a line of snare drums too, and they make a Black Beauty, or not a Black Beauty. I'm sorry, they make a bell brass one, and I've heard it, and it sounds like all the other bell brasses out there, but it's not, anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. But like you said, there's alternatives out there that get the same effect. I have a 7-inch deep brass snare from Yamaha that I can get a very similar effect from. It's a much thinner shell, but it's a similar kind of sound. And that was the reason I even bought that snare. But it is like the bragging rights of like the Black Beauty. I've even thought about like making one of my own, like getting the raw shell from a company and putting my own hardware on it. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth, but
leave it to the experts. You know what else I want, man? A drum with wood hoops. And I think that Anton Fig snare drum is really coveted.
Yeah.
I want to grab one of those at some point, but what am I saying? I don't need any more drums,
No. You're going to say that because you, like most people, are like, one more won't kill me. One, like, you're going to find a use for it. A wood hoop snare, that's not something I've never played one before, so I don't know if I would like it or not. It's just never something.
It's just fat. It's just fat, and it's just, and we have our things. Like I am a triple flange guy. I am not a die cast hoop guy because because the way I play is just like purely animalistic. I just had my 50th birthday, and I don't even know how I'm holding up the way I play. But I think one of the keys is not rim shotting die cast hoops, at least live, for, for 90 minutes, just whacking away full arm on a die cast. That will chew your sticks up and your tendons. And
you're not a rim shot guy?
I'm a total rim shot guy, but on triple flange.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a bend on the triple flange. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Have you tried the S hoop?
You know what? I was one of the first guys to use the S hoop before my friends sold it to Ahead or Big Bang.
What's that dude's name?
It's been a long time. It's been 15 years, and he passed away, unfortunately.
I didn't realize that. I met him exactly 15 years ago.
Yeah, we both met him around that time, and this is embarrassing. And for a while, I was keeping in touch with his widow. It was a sad story.
Wow. I had no idea. I lost touch with him, many years ago. I met him about 15 years ago.
Let me see if I can look into my phone. Keep talking.
Okay. I met him about 15 years ago. I want to say it was like at, Montreal Drum Fest or Modern Drummer Festival or something like that in 2005. He gave me one of those S hoops. And I had it sitting on my shelf in my drum room for years, and I never did anything with it. And finally, I put it on a snare, and I was like, why has this been collecting dust in here? Oh, my God. So now I put them on all my snares.
Nice.
Almost every snare I own has that on it because it wasn't hard like that die cast. It was more like the triple flange, but you still got that die cast kind of sound out of the rim.
And a nice cross stick, yeah.
And my sticks last forever, too, because that was what they looked like. Firecrackers exploded in the center from all the rim shots. And now it actually will take quite a while to achieve that with the S hoops. So I've been a big fan of those things. I don't know if that's something you're into or not, but
yeah, no, I've got, it's so funny is as we acquire things over the years, I think about all the places in the world that I have gear and things have been cleaned out. I mean, I think I got rid of 10 Sonar drum sets when I made the transition from Sonar to DW, and some of that helped finance filming drumming in the modern world, because basically like I treated it like an indie film, and I had a 5-man crew, and I had to rent the gym, and you have to rent the studio for a week, and you got to pay an engineer, and you got to feed everybody. And I mean, it was an undertaking. But just to think of all the things is like, you're at a point in your career in the early days where it's like, how can I get some help, at least getting some discount sticks and cymbals? And then before you know it, people are throwing gear at you, and you just acquire stuff. And then you try to trim it, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that trim. I'm trying to sell some PA gear that honestly, I got a PA head sitting right next to the camera here that I've had since I was 16.
You might want to hold on to that, because I got rid of my first blue sparkle snare drum, and I kicked myself, and because I talk about the blue sparkle snare drum in speeches and interviews, and I wish I had it.
Well, I definitely have drums like that. I have some of my old snare drums and stuff. A lot of that stuff I sold when I moved to LA, from New York to LA, because I knew I couldn't bring it across country. I stripped down to almost nothing. I had one kit and a couple of extra snares and like one set of cymbals, and everything else I sold. I sold another drum kit I had. I sold 2 other drum kits I had, and snares and stuff, and I got rid of my very first snare drum.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't played it in a million years. It just sat on a shelf, but I let it go and moved over to LA, and then just started reaccumulating everything.
Yeah, no, I remember that was the same situation for me moving to Nashville in February or March of 1997. I packed up a U-Haul truck, and it included just like one Yamaha drum set with a couple of snare drums and some cracked cymbals, and it was like just starting over, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, and that's almost why I've been afraid to leave LA for any reason. It's because, oh my God, I'd have to start all over, and at this point, I got 5 drum kits in this room. alone.
Yeah, and here's the deal. You know, you've toured, we've been everywhere. There's nowhere else I really want to live in the United States outside of the two states that I'm living in. Because there's a lot, I mean, I love the culture of a lot of cities, but there's just those two places really resonate with me. You know, you got the sun here, and then in Nashville, I've got 24 years of wonderful friendships and connections, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that really likes the idea of moving to a small town where there's like,
Mm.
you know, only 1,000 people live there and it's isolated and like, you know, you got a nice house kind of in the country somewhere and you got to drive into town and it's like 2 blocks long and that's your convenience store and your one restaurant and you know,
I think you got to save that for your retirement, Nick.
well, yeah, no, you're right. But like, there's something romantic about that idea that I really like. And every once in a while it crosses my mind, like, man, it'd be so much easier living and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't know what I would do. I couldn't play the drums for a living. I can kind of only do that here, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like we have to be in the places and 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 suffer the rat race and be part of that whole culture to be able to do what we do. Those are the watering holes. Because I lived in Lubbock, Texas, and I got a lot of practicing done when I was in college, but there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I believe it. And that's the one thing that keeps holding me here. I mean, that
Yeah.
and nice weather, you know? I don't mind the occasional earthquake as long as the sun's out.
Yeah, you know what? I sleep through them now. It's so funny. People are texting me in the morning and they're like, "Are you okay from the earth?" Like, what earthquake?
The only thing I'm ever worried about is like, did this shelf fall and did a bunch of the extra drums I have on top fall or something like that? But thankfully everything's pretty solid. Nothing's moved ever. But yeah, I sleep
Yeah.
through them also. I find out
Yeah.
about it when I wake up. I was like, oh, we had a 4 point what last night?
Yeah.
I thought a truck
So
drove on the
you didn't know you were going to be interviewed. Favorite horror films?
Oh my God. All right. So I'm a sucker for the classics. I like the old black and white. I like the Universal horror stuff.
Oh,
Dracula, Frankenstein, the
Wolfman.
Man, the Wolfman. I love those movies. I have 3 copies of Dracula for some stupid reason. I don't know why. I have it on like collector's box set edition on DVD and 2 collector's editions on Blu-ray, and I don't even know why. I think one of them's not even open. I got the same thing with Frankenstein, the collector's edition, where it comes with like 6 movies. Everything from Abbott and Costello Meet the Wolfman to the original, you know?
Nice.
So I'm a sucker for those. I love the old black and white classics, but I also grew up with the slashers. You know, I was a kid in the 80s. I actually lived on Elm Street. When I was born, I lived on an Elm Street in my town.
Nice.
And so, you know, I was like a year old when A Nightmare on Elm Street came out. So I've always had an affinity and a love for like the slashers, the Halloweens, the Jasons and the Freddys and
Oh, I mean, Halloween,
like
the original. Oh my God. I mean, and then you see the POV of him reaching in the kitchen drawer and getting at the knife and then going up the stairs and just like, and I can love and respect Rob Zombie, but he took it almost to like almost crossing the line shock value.
He made it a Rob Zombie movie. I've been rewatching some of his movies lately. Going through like House of a Thousand Corpses, and I just rewatched The Devil's Rejects, and I got to watch the new one, the 3 from Hell. I haven't seen that one yet, but they're very like they're Rob Zombie movies. They're almost like they feel like Grindhouse movies almost.
Yeah.
Like big budget Grindhouse films. And some of it you're okay with, and some of it you're like, I mean, there's even been scenes in some of those movies where like, I think I might fast.
I mean, I look away. I'm like, dude, whoa.
Where it's not like it's scary. It's just, it's a little over the top for this part now, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing that like the original Halloween had some subtlety, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot left to the imagination. And I'm just a huge John Carpenter fan in the sense that I went to maybe a year and a half ago. Went to go see him on Halloween night at the Palladium.
Oh, you went? I
I
wanted to go,
went.
and it was sold out like that.
Yeah. And when we pulled up, my girlfriend and I was like, this is great. There's no line. We go to the other side of the building. It's wrapped around the building. But it was incredible because here's a guy who writes his own films, casts his own films, writes the music, directs his own, incredible, you know?
Did you see the John Carpenter cover song I did a couple months ago?
No, is it on your Instagram?
I'll send it to you. When I was like at the start of all this stuff at the beginning of the lockdown, March, April, I was still experimenting. I'd never recorded on my own before. I always went to a studio. Engineer does that stuff. I play the drums. I leave. They do it all. I've never had to be my own engineer. So I was doing a lot of trial and error experimentation, a lot of collaboration with friends and stuff like that. Hey, let's cover this song, and then I could sit at my kitchen table all night and figure out how to edit the tracks and sound design and figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did early on, I think it was like in April, it's a keyboard player I know. And I hit him up and I was just like, I got this idea. I had just rewatched Escape from New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got this idea, man. I want to cover this song. I want to cover the theme song from Escape from New York. It's all synth. None of it's fake. Like, there's not even real drums on that song. I was like, but that's the only instrumentation. It's like keyboards and drums. I'll play the drums and the percussion part, and I'll create you a guide track, and I'll send it to you, and you can do all of the different layers of synth, send it back to me, I'll edit it and mix it. And it came out great. It came out awesome. We did a split screen video where he's playing the keyboard parts and I'm playing the drum kit part. And I mean, it's really just like kick, snare. At one point you play a floor tom, but that's it. There's no cymbals in it. There's no fills. It's like a drum loop. But I actually played it. And we did like an incredible, faithful, note for note, modern version of the Escape from New York theme. You'll get a kick out.
Yeah, and how about the thing, man? I mean, when that head falls off the table and grows legs, and the guy goes, "You gotta be kidding me!"
Best part of the movie.
And then that thing. I mean, it's all stop motion animation and puppetry, and it's still better than any CGI crap that any modern house, production house could. Incredible. And then how about those Dario Argento movies with that band Goblin? Remember those guys?
Yes. They did the whole score for that.
They do the whole score.
Oh my God. I love that stuff. There's I've gone back into rewatching some of those old ones too. The Thing is one of my favorites. Do you have Shudder? It's a streaming app like Netflix.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it worth the purchase? How much a month?
I want to say it's like $20 a month, I think is all it is.
Steep, man.
It is. It's not. I could be wrong. I might be misquoting it too, because all my.
But hey, so it's got every horror film ever made, or what?
No. It's not that good. I have it. I enjoy it, but I got like a free trial from it from their booth at like Monster Palooza, and it was like you get a free month, and I just kept it going. They do have some stuff in there that I like. Some of it they'll throw some classics in there. And then there's a lot of new stuff. They have some documentary stuff that I really like. If you like behind the scenes stuff, there's a whole series that's interviewing all these horror icons about other iconic horror movies throughout history. I've been watching slowly this one that was just about horror in the 80s. And they go year by year and talk about some of the biggest horror movies of those years, and they have interviews with the creators, the directors, the actors. Nice. I like that stuff. They also brought back, did you ever watch Monster Vision with Joe Bob Briggs back in the day on like TNT in the 90s?
Maybe.
It was like a weekly horror show, and Joe Bob's this character where he was just this like redneck, and he would introduce the movie and he'd talk all kinds of crap about it, and he'd be in the commercial breaks and stuff. And he'd show old monster movies. And I was glued to that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
They brought his show back. So his show is exclusively on Shudder now, and he does Phantasm and the Halloween movies and all
How about that Elvira?
Elvira, her stuff's all over the place. You can find her stuff everywhere too.
Yeah.
And then I just watched a horror movie that was made exclusively for Shudder.
Nice.
And it's an hour long, and it was made on Zoom. First ever horror movie made on
Oh,
Zoom.
I heard about that. It's called
It's Host.
Host. How was it?
Host, and it's only on Shudder, and I just watched it. It's fantastic.
So it worked out great. So it was actors
It's
in
exactly
front of Zoom.
It's exactly what we're doing right now, and they're all in like the Brady Bunch thing. So it's it's a bunch of girls, and the plot is they get a medium, and who's going to do a Zoom seance.
Oh yeah.
And they inadvertently summon a demon. And then you can see one by one, the demon's like going from house to house with all these girls and making stuff move, and they're getting dragged on the floor. And like, I jumped at least 2 or 3 times in it.
That's great. Hey man, that's moving taking a situation and making something out of it.
It was completely satisfying. And like I said, it's only an hour long.
That's awesome. I got to check it out.
You definitely got to check it out. It was great. It was
nice.
Well worth it. I'd recommend Shudder. If you're a horror fan, I'd recommend it. It's got some good stuff in there. Not everything. The platform doesn't always work that great. Sometimes it just doesn't open. It doesn't have the firepower of like a Netflix or something. But as a horror fan, you dig it.
Nice.
What are your favorite horror movies?
Well, those are the ones. My favorite, like just straight up film of all time is the Ridley Scott Alien. It was like 77 or 78, and it just moved the needle, and it's so frightening and still holds up. The only thing that doesn't hold up is some of the models of the spaceships. But as far as like Ridley Scott kept the actors literally in the dark, didn't tell them much. The sets were very claustrophobic. And he did a great job. Oh my God.
That's one of my favorites too. I watch it maybe at least once a year.
At least, and when it's on, director's cut, edited, subtitles, captions, I don't care. I'm watching the whole thing.
I was telling Nate Norton about this too a couple weeks ago. Because his wife's a big horror fan.
Oh, that's great though. Yeah, because my girlfriend Kara does not like horror, so I have to do it on my own time. Okay,
so there's an art gallery in Pasadena that's been doing horror movies every weekend in their backyard, and it's next to the Halloween house. It's next to the Myers house from Halloween.
I got to visit the Halloween house, and I got to visit the Nightmare on Elm Street house and the Brady Bunch. I haven't seen them.
Dude, the Nightmare on Elm Street house is right in West Hollywood.
Wait a minute, is it on Elm?
No, it's the same house number though, 1428. It was in the movies. It was 1428 Elm. It's 1428 Genesee. It's right off Sunset, just before Fairfax. If you're going down Sunset, going west, like past Guitar Center and all that stuff.
So right below Sunset.
Yes.
Going south. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going down Sunset and you're going from all the music stores, Sam Ash and Guitar Center, you're going from there towards Fairfax. Genesee's on your left. Hook a left. It's like 4 houses in on the left.
Dang it. I'm going.
It looks exactly like it did in the movie. Like it's painted exactly the same. Like the owners kept it to look the same. And then up in Pasadena is all the filming locations from Halloween. So there's the Myers house, and like 2 blocks over is Laurie Strode's house, and a block over from that is like the hedges that Michael Myers was stalking them from behind. And the people that own Laurie Strode's house, they actually keep a pumpkin all year round out on the little steps that she was sitting there waiting for her kid to come over that she was babysitting. She was sitting there holding a pumpkin. They keep a pumpkin out there on the front porch so people can take pictures all year round.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And so there's this little art gallery that does horror themed events next door to the Myers house. And every weekend in their backyard, they've been doing horror movies. I went and saw Jaws for the 4th of July. I'm going to see, this is all pre-taped, so it's going to be.
Wait a minute, they just let people into their backyard?
So you got to buy tickets online. They only let 15 people in. So it's social distancing. So whoever you go with, you guys can bring a picnic blanket, and your blanket's got to be 6 feet away from the next people. And when you're on the blanket, you can take your mask off, and there's a great pizza place a block down. You order a pizza, you come over there, you go into the house. The house is all done as an art gallery. Right now they got all year they've had a Stephen King themed art gallery going on, and they changed that out. In October, they usually do Halloween and stuff like that. And then you go in the backyard, and after sunset, they just project the movie on the back of the house.
Awesome.
And so I got tickets to go see The Lost Boys next weekend. And I saw Jaws. And so I just look at their schedule, and because they only let 15 people in, so the tickets sell really fast. And you just keep an eye on the schedule, and you're like, yeah, that one that they announced for next week, I want to go to that one. You know,
that is killer. We actually shot a music video, like I think it was maybe 5 songs ago, right on the beach where they shot The Lost Boys in front of the amusement park.
Up in where is that? That's
San.
Is it? Well, I'm at the filming location. Is that Santa Cruz?
Santa Cruz.
That's in Santa Cruz. That's the Santa Cruz Boardwalk, right?
Yep.
But in the movie, it was called what? It was called.
I forgot. Yeah.
It was a fictitious town.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know.
we're bad horror buffs.
I know. And that's like the first horror movies I ever saw was The Lost Boys. So
I love it. So if people are tuning in to talk, they're expecting us to be talking drums, and then an hour in, we take a turn.
Right. And we're
dark
just
side.
Horror movies. Oh man. Well, it's probably a good place to put a stop on it.
Put a not a period, exclamation point, crash symbol.
There you go. There we go.
Well, man, it's great to see you, and I'm glad that you're so productive, and time has stood still, man, and I'm glad that you are doing so great, you know?
Thank you, and thank you for doing this. I know you got your podcast, and you're flying back and doing session work and stuff like that. I'm glad you've been doing well, and you've been managing good. It's always, I've been trying to check in on friends a lot just to be like, hey, you doing all right? Everybody healthy? Because everybody's year got thrown out the window. Everybody who had tours, it's canceled. Mm-hmm. So, I've been trying to check in on friends and stuff like that. And
oh, it's really good. It's really good to check in with everybody. And, you mix it up. You could text a couple of people, set up times to chat. I mean, there's this thing called the phone, and like people still talking on it occasionally. It's incredible.
Right. And even doing stuff like this too, that's kind of how the idea came about. Is I was just like chatting with some friends like this, and we'd be talking for an hour because we hadn't seen each other. And then I was like, what if I just hit record? And then what if I put it on YouTube?
No, you might as well. You might as well. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So thank you so much. I'm glad you've been good. Hopefully we'll be able to actually get together in person again soon. Get some tacos or something like that. It'd be great.
Hopefully before the end of the year. Cactus.
That would be really, really
nice.
My spot, man. Places are doing the outdoor seating, and they're like taking over the street. When I was out with Sobel, we were at a place on Ventura Boulevard, sitting outdoors, and like after the storefronts all closed, this restaurant just took over the entire block. We were sitting like 2 businesses over from the actual restaurant we were eating from.
Wow.
It was weird, but it works.
Yeah. So
there's always those options too.
Totally. I just worry about, you got to take your mask off to actually eat.
Yeah.
So that's, but I could be overthinking it, but I don't know.
No, you're not wrong. Cause it's like, well, anybody you're with, you're like, I don't know where they've been. They don't know where I've been. I don't know who they're interacting with,
This is going to create lasting mental and physical effects on our world and our psyche. It's crazy.
I think it will. I think even after things go back to sort of normal, we at least start getting back to work where we can go and be on a stage again. I think there's going to be some pretty hefty regulations. I don't think the masks are going away anytime soon.
Hey, maybe we can do a thing like we create a band where these guys, no matter what, when this goes away, everyone on stage still wears masks. It's like a surgical, the surgeons or whatever. And it's a corporate cover band and everybody wears masks. I don't know.
There might be a market for it. You never know.
Who knows? But man, I'm so glad you're doing well. If anybody wants to keep in touch with me, I'm a sitting duck. It's just my name on all the socials. Very active on Instagram. I probably have 500 free videos on YouTube. And then if anybody wants to learn anything about me, it's just the newly designed richredmond.com, REDMOND.
Awesome. Thank you. That was going to be my next thing, is like, tell people where to find you, but you're a pro. You've been doing this way too long.
Oh man, I tell you. Yeah, I'm having fun with the podcast. You know, I started this, a friend inspired me to do it, and we're already almost on episode 69. It just happens overnight, man.
Dude, that's crazy. You're only episode 5 for me, and I'm only doing them every other week. So people aren't even going to see this till October.
Really?
I thought I told you that. Yeah. This is all.
Well, happy Halloween, everyone.
There you go. See, it's perfect that we're talking horror movies, because this was going to be my October episode for the beginning of October, because all the other ones, August and September, I've already filmed. I'm giving away the Hollywood secret now of like, oh no, I front loaded it and I just filmed a bunch and I'm releasing them staggered.
Everybody front loads it, man.
That's the easiest way to do it. Less work.
Got it.
So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, man. And it's great catching up with you, and hope to see you soon.
Great to catch up, man. Stay safe. Happy Halloween.
Good night.